So today on the Re-Newell project, we're doing a little bit of wiring or electrical troubleshooting anyway. I'm trying to figure out the battery switch situation back here. It's wired differently than I would expect. I would expect this just to be a battery switch. So basically this side coming from the battery and this side going out to everything else. So like this line here probably going to the starter, and then this line going to the battery merge switch or something like that, and the rest of the coach or the rest of the, you know, the chassis wiring system. But that's not the way it's wired. This is the input from the battery, and this is the input from the merge switch, and this is just the starter, which to me doesn't really make sense, because you disconnect the starter from everything, but the batteries never disconnect from the coach. I have to unhook them. So I'm thinking I am going to take the starter and the battery supply here and switch them, so that this is truly a battery switch. Also on the agenda today is plumbing. So I've got, if you can see back there, I have a frozen water line there. That one's not super important. I think it's just going to like the drinking water or something. It's got a cutoff on it right here. But there's a T right here that's, you can see it moving there. It's broke off there. So that's definitely gonna leak. And then there's another leak. There's another broken pipe or something somewhere. I can't remember where. But anyway, I'm gonna get some PEX and some shark fittings and start trying to piece this back together. I'd like to replace everything with PEX at some point, but for now I think I'm just gonna fix it. All right. The other day I was kind of working on these, well, this battery switch, and I was saying that I wanted to swap these two cables so that the batteries would cut off completely from the coach, and I did that and it works fine. It's working good now. So I don't know if it's just something got swapped by accident or what, but I'm pretty sure this is the way it's supposed to be wired. Basically, if I flip this switch right here, it disconnects the batteries from the coach completely, with the exception of this wire right here, and that's going to the charger. So whether the switch is on or off, the batteries will still charge. Some people wire it differently. Some people make it to where you can, you know, cut it off and the charger gets removed also. But at the moment, I want this way so that I can keep a trickle on the batteries and still cut the coach off, because right now there's a lot of stuff kind of randomly wired. If you look, I mean, there's just kind of stuff wired everywhere, and a lot of the stuff does not cut on and off with a key. So if you, in the dash, there's all these lights are on and everything, as long as the batteries are hooked up. So now when I'm done working on the coach for the day, I can just come back here and turn this off. The batteries will stay charged, but everything else will be off. It also makes it easier to work on if I'm doing rewiring and things like that. I can just come back here and just pop the power off. I just got to remember to turn the battery charger off if I really truly want it off. So anyway, that's that one done. So one of the other things I was doing today is working on this battery charger, which is singing at the moment, trying to charge the house batteries back up. The reason it's working so hard is because the batteries were run down pretty good. The reason was the circuit breakers, which these are new ones, the circuit breakers that were up there kept tripping. I don't think they were big enough to handle the amount of amps that this thing can put out. This is a 40 amp charger. And really, so it has the ability to put 40 amps out either side. So this thing can go to 40 amps. So I put 50s on there, and that ought to hold it. The wires are really not sized quite right for 40 amps. I think it'll do it. They're not getting hot, but I'd like them to be like 8 gauge instead of 10. But this wire here is not going very far. It's just running through here, and it's going to a solenoid that has another wire that goes across the coach, and it's 8 gauge. So it's not a long enough run to really make that much difference. And then this one is going to the house bank, and it comes out right here, and it's just going down to that 100 amp circuit breaker right there, and then it's 4 gauge back up to the battery. So that one's fine. So eventually I'm probably going to redo this. I want to put 50 amp circuit breakers like that one, so that I can turn the banks off. Like if I don't want to constantly be boiling my starter batteries, which I'm convinced this thing is going to try to do, I can turn that bank off and just, you know, kind of use it as a power supply. But for right now, it's fine. At some point I'd like to replace this, I think, with, I don't know, I'm not going to do anything yet, because I'll probably eventually put lithium batteries in here, and everything will just get replaced when that happens. So I'm trying to just use what I have for now. But anyway, hopefully this will charge and it won't trip again, because what happened before is it tripped, and then I didn't realize it because it was still running. This one didn't trip, so this thing was still running, and I was thinking it was charging my house batteries, and it wasn't, and I almost ran them dead. So something to look out for. Hopefully it won't happen again, but that takes care of those circuit breakers. So the other thing I was working on today is my house battery system a little bit. I made some changes here. I'm installing this Victron battery monitor, and I put the shunt over here, and I used this cable that was over here to go from the shunt to the coach. And then I had this piece left over that I just terminated, and then I came back over to the ground here. So that's my shunt installed. Right now I've just kind of got this hooked up, and I'm about to throw this guy through the window inside where the air conditioner is, because it is ridiculous out here today. And anyway, see if I can get that thing programmed, and so I can start monitoring these batteries a little bit. So here's a funny story and something to not do. So when I put this shunt on, I was like, I want these wires going down, that way dirt doesn't fall into the, you know, all the holes and stuff like that. And that's all I really worried about. And nowhere in that train of thought did I think to myself, hey, is this actually going to be wired correctly? And it's not. If you notice there, it says battery only, and that's going to the ground, and then the other side is the load. So yeah, I need to swap that. So right now it's showing everything backwards, so I'll fix that.